She thought it was just a simple act of kindness. A few groceries. A quiet old man. A $20 bill. But what happened just hours later would shake her entire world. 3 black SUVs pulled up to her house, and what they told her. He never saw it coming. It was just another cloudy afternoon. The kind where everything feels quiet, almost like the world has taken a breath and paused for a moment. Lily had just gotten out of school, her backpack slung over one shoulder and her earbuds in, playing her favorite playlist. She wasn't planning on stopping anywhere, but she remembered her mom had asked her to grab a few things from the grocery store. Nothing special, just milk, some bread, and snacks for her little brother. She stepped inside the small corner store, the kind that smells like coffee, old shelves, and something slightly sweet. It wasn't crowded. A couple of older ladies were chatting near the produce section. A man was stacking cereal boxes, and just ahead of her at the checkout stood an old man. He looked tired. Not just physically, but like someone who had carried years of silence and stories on his back. Lily didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the tone in the cashier's voice caught her attention. "I'm sorry, sir, your card's not working." The man mumbled something and tried again. Still no luck. He looked down at his groceries. A few cans of soup. A loaf of bread. Some fruit. Basic things. Nothing extra. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a few crumpled bills. It wasn't enough. Lily stood still for a second, watching. Something in her chest tightened. She didn't know this man. He could be anyone. But in that moment he reminded her of her grandfather, who passed away a few years ago. Quiet, proud, never asking for help. Always insisting he was fine even when he wasn't. Before she even realized it, Lily had stepped forward. "I'll cover it," she said softly, reaching into her pocket and pulling out a $20 bill. The cashier looked surprised. So did the old man. He turned toward her slowly, his eyes wide. "You don't have to do that," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want to," she replied. "It's okay." The man hesitated, staring at her like he wanted to say something else. Maybe thank her. Maybe explain. But all he did was give her a nod. A deep, sincere one. He took his groceries and walked slowly out the door. Lily didn't expect anything from him. She didn't do it for attention. She didn't even think about it again after she left the store. She went home, dropped her bag on the floor, and sat down for dinner like it was any other day. But it wasn't. Because just a few hours later, long after the sun had gone down, she would hear the low hum of engines outside her house. And when she looked through the window, she'd see something no one could have prepared her for. The sky had gone completely dark by the time Lily finally got off her phone and began cleaning up the kitchen. Her mom was watching TV in the living room, and her little brother had already fallen asleep on the couch, a half-eaten cookie still in his hand. Everything felt normal, peaceful, until the sound came. It wasn't loud. Just a low, slow hum like heavy tires rolling over gravel. At first, Lily thought it was the garbage truck coming down the street. But it was too late for that. Curious, she walked over to the front window and peeked through the curtains. That's when her heart skipped a beat. 3 black SUVs were parked in front of their house. Not just ordinary SUVs either. These looked official. Tinted windows. Matte black finish. Clean polished. And they were all lined up, one behind the other, with their headlights still on. She felt a chill run down her spine. Who were they? Why were they here? Before she could call out to her mom, there was a knock on the door. Not rushed or aggressive, slow and firm. Knock. 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 Lily froze. Her mom looked up from the couch, confused. "Who's knocking at this hour?" she asked, standing up. Lily didn't answer. She was still staring out the window, heart thudding. The men stepping out of the SUVs weren't like any neighbors. They were tall, wearing suits, serious faces, the kind you'd see in a spy movie or on the news. The knock came again, this time a little louder. Her mom walked over, unlocked the door, and opened it slowly. The porch light flickered on. There were 2 men standing outside. One stepped forward and spoke first. "Good evening. We're here to speak with Lily." Her mom blinked. "Is something wrong?" "No, ma'am," the man said calmly. "We just need a moment of her time. Nothing to worry about." Lily stepped forward, hesitant. Her hands were cold. "I'm Lily," she said quietly. The man smiled faintly. "May we come in?" Her mom hesitated for a second, then nodded and opened the door wider. The men stepped inside. They didn't look around or make small talk. They were focused, like this visit was planned down to the second. One of them reached into his coat and pulled out an ID badge. It wasn't flashy, just a name, a photo, and a logo Lily didn't recognize. It looked official. Maybe federal, maybe something else. Not police. Something higher. "We're with a government agency," the man said carefully. "What we're about to tell you is confidential. But it involves something you did earlier today." Lily's mind raced. What had she done? The only thing she could think of was the old man at the grocery store. That moment. That $20 bill. He had no idea why it mattered. But the man's next words would change everything she thought she knew. Lily sat down on the edge of the couch, her legs stiff, her hands clenched in her lap. Her mom stood nearby, clearly just as confused but trying to stay calm. The two men in suits remained standing. They didn't take off their coats. They didn't sit. One of them pulled something from a folder. An old photograph, faded but clear. "Do you recognize this man?" he asked, handing the photo to Lily. She leaned in. The face was familiar. Wrinkled skin. White hair. The same kind eyes. It was the old man from the grocery store. "That's him," she said slowly. "I saw him earlier today. I paid for his groceries." The two men exchanged a glance. The taller one nodded. "His name is Charles Whitmore. That name probably means nothing to you. But 30 years ago he was one of the top field agents in a covert division of U.S. intelligence. His work was classified. Deep undercover. He vanished from the public eye about 10 years ago." Lily blinked. "Wait, he was a spy?" "More than that," the agent replied. "He led operations that prevented several global threats. But over time he made enemies. Dangerous ones. So the agency helped him disappear. He's been living under a new identity ever since." Her mom looked at Lily, clearly overwhelmed. Why is this connected to her?" The agent's tone softened. "Mr. Whitmore was being followed. We've been tracking suspicious activity around him for weeks. It seems certain people discovered where he was. He went to the store today to confirm his suspicions. It was a trap." Lily's heart began to pound. "So, he was in danger?" The agent nodded. "And he knew it. He had no intention of returning home. He believed it was his last day." She stared at him. "But he was buying soup. Fruit. Why would he?" "Because even after everything he never gave up hope," the agent said quietly. "He always believed that if he kept living as a good man, someone might notice. Someone might still care. And you did." Lily looked down, her mind spinning. "I just helped. That's all." "And that help," the agent said firmly, "gave him a reason to take a risk. After you paid, he slipped a tracker into one of the grocery bags. That device helped us locate a black market surveillance van parked nearby. Because of him, and because of your help, we were able to stop an ongoing threat and arrest 2 international fugitives." Lily couldn't believe what she was hearing. A simple act, buying groceries, had turned into something out of a spy movie. But the agent wasn't done. He reached into his coat again and pulled out a sealed envelope. "Mr. Whitmore left this for you. He said if we made it in time, this should be delivered personally." Lily stared at the envelope in his hand. It had her name written in shaky handwriting. She reached out and took it, not yet knowing what was inside. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. Not because of its weight, but because of what it might hold. Lily turned it over in her hands. Her name was written in black ink, the letters shaky, like they'd been drawn slowly with careful effort. Her fingers trembled slightly as she peeled the flap open. Inside was a handwritten letter and a small metal object. A coin, but not like any she'd ever seen. It had symbols on it. A star. An eagle. And some kind of number code etched along the edge. It didn't look like money. It looked like something official. She unfolded the letter. The paper was thick, almost textured. The ink looked fresh, as if he had written it just hours ago. Her eyes scanned the first few lines. "Dear Lily, you didn't know me. And I didn't know you. But today you reminded me of something I had long forgotten. That kindness still exists, even in the quiet moments. Especially in the quiet moments." She kept reading, her lips parting slightly with each line. "There was a time I believed in people. In service. In duty. But over the years I saw too much. Lost too much. I became a ghost. Not because I had to disappear, but because I no longer believed anyone would notice if I was gone. And then you did. Lily swallowed hard. Her mom sat beside her now, silently watching her read, her hand resting gently on Lily's back. You didn't ask for anything. You didn't judge me. You just gave without knowing what it meant. That act saved more than just me today. It reminded those watching that the world still has hope. And for that I wanted to give something back. The letter ended with a small line that looked almost rushed. Show the coin. They'll know. Use it well. Lily looked up at the agents, confused. What does this mean? The shorter agent took a step forward. That coin is a signal. It's only given to a few people. People who've done something exceptional. It gives access to a private scholarship fund, created years ago by retired agents and allies. If you accept it, your education is fully covered. Not just school, but internships, global programs, mentorship by leaders in science, technology, and intelligence. Lily stared at the coin again. Her hands were shaking now, not from fear but disbelief. I just paid for his groceries, she whispered. The taller agent nodded. And that one decision changed more than you know. You showed courage, compassion, awareness, qualities we look for in people who can shape the future. Lily didn't know what to say. The coin glinted softly in her hand under the hallway light, and the letter rested gently in her lap. Everything she thought about that day had changed. Not because she expected anything, but because she acted when it mattered most. The next morning the world felt different. Lily walked out onto her porch as the sun rose, casting a soft golden glow across the neighborhood. The 3 SUVs were gone. No sign of the men in suits. No noise. No answers from the outside world. Just the quiet hum of sprinklers, the chirping of birds, and the cool air brushing against her skin. She still had the letter tucked safely in her backpack. The coin too, heavy, cold, and mysterious. Part of her wanted to believe it was all a dream. But she knew it wasn't. Her mom had seen it. She had heard everything. And though they hadn't said much about it since, Lily could tell something had shifted in the way her mother looked at her now. Like she was seeing her in a whole new light. When she got to school, everything looked the same. Same classrooms. Same lockers. Same kids laughing in the hallway. No one knew what had happened. No one knew what she had been a part of. She moved through the day in a kind of blur, replaying the night over and over in her head. During lunch, she sat alone at her usual table, staring at the coin in her hand. A girl from her math class passed by and gave her a quick smile. Lily smiled back, but she could still feel the weight of the moment pressing on her. Not in a bad way. In a way that made her wonder what she was really meant to do. When she got home that afternoon, there was a package waiting on the porch. No name. No label. Just a sleek black box with a gold seal. She brought it inside, placed it on the kitchen table, and carefully opened it. Inside was a leather folder. She lifted the flap. On top was an official-looking letter. It had her name on it and the logo she'd seen the night before, the same one on the agent's badge. She unfolded the letter and started to read. It was a welcome letter. Short and to the point. Miss Lily Carter. You've been selected for the Horizon program, a private mentorship initiative for students with unique potential. We believe your instincts, integrity, and courage make you an ideal candidate. This is not a contract. It's an invitation. What comes next is up to you. Underneath the letter were papers with details about the scholarship. A list of places she could travel to, courses she could take, names of people she might meet, scientists, engineers, analysts, all tied to the same world the old man had once belonged to. Lily leaned back in her chair, the papers spread out before her. Her hands hovered above them, unsure of what to touch first. All because of a small moment. A simple decision. One act that no one saw coming. And though the world outside still looked ordinary, she now knew it wasn't.